Hi everyone, in today's episode I will show you how to make a zero clearance insert to achieve a cleaner cuts on your table saw. This is the standard table saw insert that comes with all table saw. The common problem with this type of insert is the big gap between the saw blade and the insert slot, which will allow for small pieces of wood to fall inside the table saw. Also, it will cause the wood to tear out from the bottom side due to the big slot gap that these inserts have. The simple solution to this problem is to make a zero clearance insert for your table saw to bridge the gap between the saw blade and the insert slot. This will give more support beneath the workpiece to stop the tear out and also will not allow for small pieces to slip between the saw blade and the insert slot. I will begin by measuring my table saw insert depth. You can use a combination square or a caliper to do that accurately. You can use any type of wood you have. I recommend plywood or MDF for better stability. Now trace the shape of your standard table saw insert with a marker or a marking knife to make it visible on the workpiece. You can use the fence to support your workpiece to prevent it from moving when tracing the shape of the insert. This way, you need to make one straight cut on the opposite side only. I will make a test cut, then check it with the caliper until I reach the desired thickness, then continue with the full cut. If the thickness of the material you have is more than the depth of the table saw insert gap, then you need to fix that. If you are using a hardwood, you can use a thickness planer or a hand plane to do that. As I'm using plywood, I prefer to do this on the table saw. I will make half cuts to both sides on the workpiece using the blade at full height. Then I will lower the blade just enough to clean the remaining wood. The magnetic feather board will help keep the pressure on the workpiece against the fence for better control and cleaner cut. Some sanding may be required to remove the saw marks and ensure everything is flat. Using the cupping saw with its teeth pointing down will give you a cleaner cut on the workpiece face. Of course, you can use a bandsaw or a jigsaw to make this cut if you don't have a cupping saw. You can also sand the edges for a smoother look if you like. This is not critical but optional as long as the insert fits tightly in your table saw. Now I'm marking all required holes in the insert, the one used to help you remove the insert when required, and the other one used to pull the riving knife insert pin. Now install the insert and move the fence above the insert to hold it down, but keep in mind not to cover the saw blade penetration position. You can also add additional support to this insert if you like by placing a long piece of wood above the insert left side and clamp it down to your table saw. Once all set, turn your table saw on and start raising the blade slowly until it reaches its full height. You can use a small diameter blade at first. Then replace it with a 10 inches blade in case the insert doesn't rest flat inside the insert gap. Now we need to extend the saw curve backward to allow for the riving knife to be installed, as the saw blade cannot achieve this from the first cut even at full length. My camera runs out of battery during the recording of this part, but I will explain how it is done. First, place back the standard table saw insert. Then raise the saw blade by half an inch or so. Place the zero clearance insert allowing for the saw blade to enter the saw curve, which we already cut in the zero clearance insert. Move your fence until it touches the zero clearance insert and lock it down, allowing the insert to move freely forward and backward along the saw blade. Then lower the saw blade below the table saw insert. Put back the zero clearance insert and adjust it where you want to make the cut. Avoid cutting it completely. Use the magnetic feather board if you have one, or a long piece of wood clamped to the table saw to prevent the zero clearance insert from moving sideways during the cutting operations. Use a block of wood or quick gripper if you have one to keep the workpiece pressed down against the table top when making this cut. Finally, turn on your table saw and start raising the blade slowly until the desired cut is achieved. Now you have the saw curve extended to the back end of the zero clearance insert as required. It is time to making test cuts now. No matter how small the parts you are cutting, it won't fall inside your table saw anymore. Here is another test cut using plywood without scoring. You can achieve very good results using just a ripping blade, which is not designed for cross-cutting anyway. At the end, thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please do not forget to subscribe and hit the notification ring. Stay safe and happy woodworking.